All right, coming at you from Aurora University in the Spartan Media Recording Studio, we're continuing on with the Grad School SOS podcast series, part of the Aurora University Pulse blog. My name is Corey Breedlove, and I am an MBA student here at Aurora University.
I'm Brian Surik, also an MBA student.
I'm Tamara Turner, a surviving MBA graduate.
I'm Kayla Wasco, an MBA student, and I coach on campus as well.
So one of the things that Aurora University and a lot of other universities and colleges out there offer is this Grad Assistantship program. It's something that all of us, aside from Kayla, who is actually our grad assistant in here, we don't really know that much about. So we figure probably a lot of other people would be interested in knowing more about this topic. So we wanted to discuss with Kayla what exactly being a grad assistant is.
Yeah, and I think Aurora does a fair amount of grad assistantships. At least I can't think of one class I've had where there hasn't been at least one, if not two. If not the last class I had with Man, there must have been like half the class that was homeless grad assistants. Yeah. Do you know how many it's all for sports?
So I believe that at Aurora they're all for sports. I think there's two for football, there's one for softball, one for women's basketball, soccer's, lacrosse. So there's about at least probably 10 of us.
And so you're the basketball one.
Yep.
And so what was your credentials, or why were you qualified to be, I guess, a basketball grad assistant? Yeah.
So it's kind of like applying for a job or anything. I knew that out of undergrad I wanted to go to grad school and I wanted to coach basketball, so it seemed like a great fit. How the grad assistantship works is at most places they pay for your graduate school. Some places will also offer some type of living food stipend. I get a small stipend as well. So you are like an assistant coach, and then you also go to graduate school.
So how much are you actually working? Like, how much work do you actually have to do?
So that's going to depend a lot on your head coach, too, and your coaching staff. So women's basketball here, it is just the head coach, me as the graduate assistant, and then we have, like, another stipend part-time assistant. So when there's only two people that are regularly in the office, you're expected to probably do a lot more. Other sports have, like football has, 4 other assistant coaches. I'm sure their GAs do a lot too. So during season, obviously, so for me from October to March, I'm in the office, every day from 9 to 4, and then you're at practice, and then you're watching film or you're making recruiting calls. So it's like a full-time job. I think they technically say that you're supposed to work 20 hours a week, but it's never that few hours. It's like a full-time job, and especially if you're interested in it, you're going to put in more time than just the bare minimum.
So you're coming to the end of your graduate program, which means the assistantship is going to be coming up as well. What do you think was the most difficult part about being an assistant?
I think sometimes, just like we've talked about in several of these podcasts, is balancing your time. I came here to coach basketball, so sometimes I get more on that than just, and I don't have as much focus on school. So sometimes you just have to find a way to balance that. Other than that, the difficulties, you're not making much money, but that's like any college student, so you just kind of get through that. And then just anything related to coaching in general, there's frustrations. If your team doesn't play well or just little things like that, there's just going to be your day-to-day frustrations that you deal with on a regular basis. But as a grad assistant, it's been a great experience.
So as a graduate assistant, is it going to benefit you in the future? Is it going on your resume? Did you learn leadership from it? Why'd you do it?
Yeah, so I think one thing about coaching is you have to get your foot in the door somewhere. It's like any job. So a grad assistant is a great way to get experience while you're in school as well. So like I said earlier, it's just the head coach and I. So I have got so much more. I'm a part of everything that goes on in our program. Sometimes bigger schools will have grad assistants as well, but they hardly ever even see the practice floor, because they're like the 7th or 8th assistant down the line. So you learn how to run a program, every aspect of coaching that you want. Leadership does come along with that, I think, as a coach. And yeah, it was just a way for me to get my foot in the door. So now I'm looking for other full-time assistant jobs, and it looks great because you're hardly ever going to get an assistant job if you haven't had some type of coaching experience. A lot of people, if they don't do a grad assistant, they'll just volunteer somewhere. So we had a stipend this year who worked part-time at Dick's, and then she worked part-time here. So the grad assistant is a good way to, get both your school and your coaching at the same time.
And you came here right after you got your BA, right?
Yep.
So I'm picturing like a punk right out of
I don't know
college, punk right out of college, BA student. Now you're in charge of coaching all of these other BA students who are basically your same age. How was that? Did they accept you as their coach right away? I mean, or did they?
Yeah, so that's something that really comes up. I think it helps that I didn't go to school here because I didn't know them already. Sometimes that can be great too if there's a lot of the grad assistants here actually played here. But I think not knowing them prior is, that kind of gives a little bit of a balance to start off with. And I was a few years older. I stayed in undergrad for 5 years, so I was a little bit older than the girls here. I never really had any problems. I think the biggest thing is you kind of set the boundary right away. But as an assistant, your job is to bridge that gap anyways. The head coach is the one that's, getting on the girls all the time. And my job is to kind of, pick that back up. So I haven't had too many problems with that. I get asked that a lot. But I think it's been pretty easy to transition with, as long as you set the standards right away. There's certain things you shouldn't be doing with them or whatnot. So if you get that out of the way right away, then you should be okay.
What was the most fun thing that you were able to do as a result of being a graduate assistant?
I think just coaching. I mean, I love what I do. So, being able to do that it's what I want to keep doing. So having the opportunity to do it right away has been great. To form relationships with the girls, just to get to know them a little bit better, and just do what you love. I've got along really well with our head coach here, so that's been great, making friendships with the other GAs. I actually lived with one last year, and I live with a different one this year, so creating those friendships and those experiences has been a lot of fun.
So let me ask you, would you recommend this to others?
Definitely, if you're interested in coaching, I think it's a great option. Like I said, your schooling is paid for. You're not necessarily making money, but in coaching, you're not going to make a lot of money anyway, and it gets your name out there. So I think it's a great option, especially at any level. If you want to go to a bigger school, as they have grad assistantships as well, and then obviously the smaller schools do too. But not every school has a grad assistantship, so that's something kind of to look at. Where I did my undergrad, they had no grad assistant, so you kind of got to pick and choose based on that. So when you're searching, it doesn't mean that you can go wherever you want or whatnot.
And I know it's got to be a lot of work. I remember we were talking a bit ago with the two football guys. They were always coming into class late and they'd always be dressed in their gear, just like they just got beat up because they're out there coaching, and then trying to schedule teamwork around with them. It almost always had to be weekends, and then they'd be there watching films. Yeah. That was something I never even knew that you guys did. Can you talk about like what you do, like when you're watching film, like you're literally watching all the teams?
It kind of depends on the sport. I think every sport watches film, but football is really big on it. Basketball is huge on it. So you take games. So if we're going to play Dominican on Wednesday, probably Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, the head coach and I are going to watch their previous 5 to 6 games to pick up on player tendencies, to pick up on certain plays that they run a lot. So I do a lot of our film breakdown. So I'll watch all the games, I'll clip out certain things that I see, and then we usually show that film to our girls. So we have a scout the day before every game, and it probably consists of 15 minutes of film, and then kind of our head coach types up a scouting report that has all the player personnel on it. So there's a lot that goes into game prep for sure, and film is, you can never watch enough film.
All right, anybody else have any more questions for Kayla? All right, so that's going to wrap this one up. This is Grad School SOS coming at you from the Spartan Media Recording Studio at Aurora University.